Gary, another day, another press conference. Any injury news?
It's that shorter time since my last press conference. I can't remember what I said then. Yeah, no, I think more or less everyone's okay. Manager has trained this morning. Sam Klukas has been doing really well. The work we've done, we did a little bit of 11v11 work with the ones that haven't played, and just to really give the likes of Sam some sort of match minutes, although it's a practice match. They've all come through quite well, so I think as it stands, I'm trying to think, I think there's only Thibaut Linden that's in the treatment room. So yeah, quite pleased with that. Makes the medical team. It might be because it's international break coming up, possibly, but everybody wants to get any days off that there are. But certainly everyone's out on the pitch and everyone's more or less available.
And there was no ill effects for James McLean after the game tonight?
No, I don't think. I think with James he's fine. I think it's like any player that has an injury of that sort of magnitude, that your only risk really is if you land uncontrollably on that injury again. And some injuries you can have a 3-month period where you know after 3 months nothing will happen. Some injuries you can say from 6 weeks to 3 months there's a risk, but it's worth taking the risk because reality nothing will happen. So of course we want to get him out on the pitch. He wants to desperately be out on the pitch, and it was good to get him out on the pitch. And even with a light cast and a slightly broken wrist still or arm still, he manages to pop up with an assist. Also got booked in the process, trying to have a little ruckus with someone, but that's Macca. He's wholehearted, desperate to do well. Like I said before, they're the type of players we want in the team that will put the team before their own safety effectively. But we think we've mitigated the risks, and we don't think it's that big a problem.
You commented on how well you thought the central defensive partnership worked in midweek, and you also talked about Martina as well, but we're going to need the consistency for the game at Norwich, aren't we?
Yeah, I did. I didn't think I commented on it significantly enough to make a headline of.
Well, there you go, you see, I did.
As if that's suddenly now my pairing of choice, because obviously the likes of Ryan Reid and that certainly wasn't what I said and wasn't my intentions, but I understand how things work. No, I thought, look, for 2 games, they've worked well together. They've kept a good line. They've organised each other. They've tried to create a little bit of synergy, as have any of the centre-halves. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about 2 games. But you could equally talk about, the whole game in which Ryan did that as a pairing with, I think, Bruno on the day. And then many, not so many games, but on some other games. So what they did is they worked well together. I think that Eric had one of his best games. I thought Kuko was good as well, and that's what you're asking your back four to do every game, not just some of the games, every game, because obviously we've probably been surprised when we look solid, because a lot of the games we haven't looked solid, so I understand that, but yeah, it was a comment on the performance, nothing else, and the performance was that we moved well together, we didn't allow lots of space to open up. That's what a good back four does, a good back four moves together. It never stays too far. The right back can never stay too far away from the right centre back, and vice versa. And you have to have that synergy. And the 4 that went out there on Tuesday night did their jobs. That's it. Only did their jobs, but they did the jobs. That's what they're paid to do. So yeah, I was pleased.
Well, I'm glad. Moving on to the match at Norwich. Obviously, the clean sheet will have given the players a great deal of confidence, but Norwich don't concede many goals, do they? And they've been very useful this season. Yeah,
they've, particularly after the first few opening games, I think the last 5 or 6 have been unbeaten. I think they've won 4 or 5 on the spin, certainly in all competitions. And we saw them at Derby the other night. So they're an energetic team. They've got some good sort of youth in there. They move well together as a team. I think Daniel's teams, we played against them a couple of times last season. They're always very organised, and of course that sort of German mentality about the way they move and the way they press and the way they limit space. And certainly we know, once again, we're talking about it can be any game. It can Could be any game in the Championship. We know again we've got to go there and we've got to be very, very good defensively, which we probably have been for the majority of the game in quite a few of the recent ones. It's just been small moments. And we've also got to be good enough to break them down, you know. But again, I've seen teams create chances against them, and we can see what they can offer. So it'll be a tough game. We know that. I don't think the recent run of form makes a lot of difference, in my opinion. You know, in some ways, the more games you win, the more you say, okay, well, can that run continue? But you know, we'll go down. We'll have to be at we'll have to be the best Stoke we can be. You know, we'll have to defend and play the way we did, certainly in the first half on Tuesday, probably for the whole 90 minutes, in order to get a result. Because as we know from previous history, Stoke hasn't had enough away results over a long period of time, and that's certainly something that we're keen to find a solution.
We're coming up to virtually a quarter of the way through the season now, and you've said that this is your team. Can you give me a quarter of the season report on how you think we're doing?
Yeah, a little bit like my oldest son's report was like could do better. But what I would say is I would say that again, there's no point me sitting up here and giving you 20 stories from pre-season that might have affected. You know, we always felt that it might be hard to start quickly for various reasons, which I won't go into. But what I would say is we've bit by bit, I think, started to find solutions. You know, bit by bit, the team started to look better. If we look back to the first game against Leeds, you look at that performance and you look at some of the recent performances. You know, we always spoke this season about trying to create a team that could not only win games of football, which of course we found a challenge, but control games, have quite a lot of possession, although possession's never been that important to me, but control the game, create lots of chances. I think we've controlled a lot of games. I think we've created a lot of chances where we've probably not had the right balance. It's just defensively, and that's not because we haven't got good players, but we just haven't quite found the right format, the right balance, or whatever, you know. But I think how we're playing is a style of play that can elevate us up the league. I think how we're playing can have success long term, and I think it's a style that's enjoyable to watch. But unlike everyone else, it's not enjoyable to watch if you make mistakes to ruin the performance. So it's something we've worked hard on. The players have worked incredibly hard, I have to say. Disappointed with our own performances at times, but we're starting to get there a little bit. We're starting to feel better about what we're doing. The group certainly looks a lot more together. The group dynamic is better. The balance of the squad, you know, is better. So what we really need to do now is start to get the results. But I think the work that everybody's done is now starting to warrant, you know. We'll see. We'll see whether we do that, but I'm convinced that we will. I'm confident that we will. But of course, in this opening period, it's been a difficult period. It's probably been the hardest period I've had in my managerial career, you know, just because it's been frustrating. Because effectively, we've got good players, but we've not managed to get good results. You know, now I think we're starting to find better solutions, which, you know, we've done it everywhere. Every club that we've been at, it might not have always been instant, but eventually we've more or less got there, you know. So this one's probably took a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Why do you think it's? You obviously get frustrated, or the fans get frustrated, the players get frustrated. But why do you think now? Is it just the hard work that's beginning to change it around, or have the players got more belief and confidence in what you've tried to get them to do?
I think a little bit of everything. I mean, I'll sort of mention this stat earlier in the season, and this is just fact. I think the average position of a Premier League team being relegated the next season in the Championship is something like 9th. So that shows you there is a magnitude of challenges. Because one of the other teams is higher than 9th doesn't necessarily mean that they might not have still had some of those challenges, or that any of the other clubs have gone through those challenges. So I think it shows how difficult an adjustment is. I think we all felt with the squad we've got on paper that we should be up there, but there's a million things you have to factor into that, and you know, I think that players are starting to understand what the league's about. Players are starting to feel the rewards of working hard for each other and realising we have to fight for every single thing in this division to even get a point out of a game, let alone 3 points. I think we started to do that. Only when you do those things, I think does your quality then start to come through. And we've always known that there's quality in this group and it will come through and it will win games of football. But I think we've just perhaps struggled to get to the point where we've added all the other things, all the other ingredients into the mix, you know. So I was almost going to come up with some sort of random bacon analogy there, but I won't want to insult everyone into getting some of the ingredients wrong. I obviously have done in the first 10 games. So, but I think that's the factor. I think the factor is we know what we want to do, but sometimes getting some of those things to fall in place takes a lot of work and can't always guarantee how quickly you can do it. But players are in a good place. I think they're feeling good. They're understanding what's required, and I think there's certainly a lot more confidence within the group. There's a lot more belief in the squad, and hopefully what we'll start to see is we start to build some good results together.
Thank you.